Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's Robbie Rhino, and in today's video I have 3 replays for you in the recently balanced WZ-113G GFT, which is a tier 10 Chinese tank destroyer. And as I just said, this was recently balanced. This was part of the last Tanks Reforged. So this article I have up here is from the 30th of September. I'm just going to go over what they've changed, and then we're going to hop into the 3 replays. So this article at the top just says that this is a mid-range support vehicle, and what they've changed is sort of hoping to get it fit better with that classification. So yeah, let's hop in down here and see what they've changed. And just for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be looking at the tier 10. So they've given the engine an extra 100 horsepower, given it a power to weight ratio at 13.64. This just means it's obviously a little bit more mobile. It's going to be better up hills, which is a nice change. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's nice nonetheless. I'm going to skip past the gun change for the moment because there's something misleading in this article up here that I want to make you aware of, and we're just going to look at the armor for a second. So they've buffed the main frontal armor and the upper sloped hull armor. The main frontal armor was given an extra 20mm, and the upper sloped hull armor was given an extra 30mm. So we're going to hop into Tanks GG, and I will show you what it was like before and how it affects the tank now. So here we are. This is Tanks GG with the statistics that PC have. This is what the tank was before the console balancing. And all you need to focus on here is what it says, where it says effective armor in that black box there. So yeah, let's get to it. The lower plate wasn't changed. That was 135. Dead on, you're going to be buttering it with anything basically, unless it's extreme angling where you can sort of get the lower hull to about 370 to 380 millimeters of effective armor. Then of course you risk the tracks being penned here and being immobilized, and the side armor you can just pen easily. And yeah, the first thing that they've changed was this little plate here. This is the upper hull armor. So as we can see here in the article, this was given an extra 13mm. So dead on, it was before about 185 to 190 of effective armor. Angled before, it was about 200 and about 270, let's say. So now, dead on, that's going to be about 200, just about 200, just over 200 of effective armor. And now, if you're sort of angling, extreme angling, it's going to be about 300mm of effective armor. So pretty damn good change. And now we're going to look at the main frontal armor, which is the superstructure, was given an extra 20mm. So straight on, before it was about 260 to sort of 275, maybe 280 in places. Before, when it was angled, about 330 to sort of 360 in some places. Yeah, and now extra 20mm, so up to 290, up to 300 at the front. If we're looking sort of directly at it and it's using some of its gun depression, that's going to be just over 300mm of effective. And when it's angling now, up to sort of 350, 360mm of effective. So very, very decent. And obviously, if you can imagine there's a wall here, and you come around a corner and people don't think to shoot there, they just snap a shot. This is going to be a very effective shot trap. Obviously, tier 9 and 10 TDs and guns that are very high penetration premium rounds are still going to go through it some of the time, but it's a lot better now. Yeah, so that's the changes to the armor, and I quite like the changes, and we're just going to discuss the gun now. So they changed the reload, basically gave it 2.5 seconds extra reload, but they changed the alpha to 850 from 750. So they've given it an extra 100 alpha for an extra 2.5 seconds of reload, and it says here this is an overall increase to its DPM, which is actually completely incorrect, as I sort of just realized as I came to make this video. So before, the DPM was 2647 DPM. That was with the 750 alpha for 17 seconds. and now the DPM is 2,615. That's with the 850 alpha and then the 19.5 seconds, and I'd be happy with that anyway. It's only a, you know, a 32 DPM change. It's just annoying that the article was wrong, so just be aware of that. But I do prefer it with the 850 alpha. It just hits harder. I was never in a sort of position with this tank usually to fire every single time that I was reloaded, because it's so sort of slow. It was maneuvering around the battlefield. But yeah, just be aware of that. And yeah, that's enough about the statistics, and we'll hop into the 3 replays. So I'll see you there in a bit. Hello everyone. So this is the first replay where we are on Desful, and this is probably one of like 5 or 6 games I've had in this tank since the balancing. It's a tank that I actually quite enjoyed before the balancing. I mean, it wasn't as competitive as the other sort of tier 10 TDs, but I quite like tanks that are, you know, a bit unloved and a bit unique, or have different characteristics. But yeah, this balancing has been fantastic for this tank in my opinion. It really helps with that alpha increase. It just fits in with the other tier 10 TDs. And even though the DPM has actually, you know, slightly decreased, it's still good enough. The armor buff is fantastic at helping you in lots of positions. It means you're going to bounce, you know, just that little bit extra than you would before. You're still going to get buttered by some high penetration rounds from a Jagdpanzer E100, like, you know, that sort of thing, but that's very normal for a lot of tanks. It just means you're going to be staying in the fight for that a little bit longer than you would have previously. So here on Desful, Cold War maps in a tank like this, that's quite slow. Even with the engine buff, it can be quite difficult. And as you can see, I've kind of done a loop at the start there, because I'm not really quite sure where to go. I think I'm just looking at this brick here, because I know that was, I think that was balanced in this same update. Poor person playing a brick. I haven't played it myself, and I kind of never really want to. But the centre of this map, as I've discussed in a previous video, I believe, it's very powerful, and if you can win this, you have shots across the full corners of the map. I don't really want to go to a sort of a corner of the map, if that makes sense, or go down a sort of 1 line, or a K line, a 0 line, A line, that kind of thing, where I have to relocate across the whole of a map if the enemy team have gone a different way. So I've come to the centre here. I know that I've got a heavy with me here in the brick, so I'm completely safe. No matter what comes at me, the brick's going to help me. Or not. Yeah, so we're going to just come up here. I'm just going to play very aggressive. I play very aggressive anyway, but I'm going to play probably more aggressive in these games than I would usually. I'm just testing the buffs out, basically. I'm just seeing what you can sort of push your tank to do. As their light tank, yeah, doesn't want to play this game anymore and probably falls off a bridge or a cliff. Always hilarious. So I'm just going to float around the middle, trying to get shots on anything that's spotted. Try and get this light tank out of the game if I can. Sort of light tanks, the longer the game goes on, I think I've said before that the more powerful they become, especially against me, a tank that hasn't got a turret. It can be hard to deal with at the end of the game, so I'm gonna, yep, I was gonna go and finish him off, but he gets finished off. And this is a very vulnerable spot to where I'm shooting now, but I've got this little building to the right that I can hide behind, and we put one into that object 268 version 5, and we're just gonna keep ducking in behind this building to stop people on that sort of bridge area over there, or is it a train track? Can't quite tell. Yeah, shooting at me. Hasn't got great camo, but it hasn't got the worst camo, and we spot this Leopard 1. He, even though it says I haven't got a shot, I think he's behind a wall I probably can penetrate, but I find a shot there and we roll for 848, and this is where the RNG changes really help this tank. The E4 has a shot at me. Fortunately he depths it into the bridge below, and now we're unspotted. We can aim in fully and take out the 268 version 5. So we've already racked up 1800 damage, not too bad for the start of this game. yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it's going. I noticed that we've got a lot of teams to sort of the north, a lot of our teammates to the north, to the northwest there. And they haven't spotted just sort of the rest of their team, so I'm assuming they're down in the south, sort of, or down the 9 and 0 line. So I'm just going to come over here and sort of cover. Unfortunately, from this position, a lot of them do hide behind that sort of hill, little tiny mound, whatever you want to call it. And I'm thinking I've kind of outstayed my welcome here a little bit, and I want to get stuck in, because with a tank like this, with a longer reload, you know, and the way that games go nowadays, you know, you can lose out on damage quite quickly by not making aggressive pushes when you need to. But there we go. You can see the slow shell velocity there. I had to lead a lot in front of that tank there, into the front of that medium. But we are spotted, and I'm just kind of sitting out in the open, testing my armour. Get penned twice. Kind of not surprised then. They are looking up at me, and they probably penetrated my my lower plate there. But we're going to try and get into shot into the turret here. Finish the M4A2 off, but the Iron Rain helps us out there and finishes them off for us. We have blocked one shot already, and I think that was when we were backing up and we were sort of angled, and that's what can happen. Obviously, you have to back up out of cover because you haven't got a turret. You can't turn around and run away very quickly. So when you are back in sort of around a corner, you can catch shots on your sort of upper hull, you know, the slope superstructure, and bounce shots. So we've noticed that we're winning. All of the tanks are down in this corner over here, or down towards where that tank is just spotted there, in that corner where the TDs hide. And I want to push the tempo, and I want to get as much out of this game as possible. We have picked up a respectable 2.6k direct and 1.1k assistance. Get a bit annoyed there that I bounced off the Yoho. I know that got buffed recently as well, and I can't remember the armor values really. I thought that probably should have gone in, but I'm just going to go around, make sure I pen this right into his lower plate. Roll for 848, he penetrates us, but I'm happy with that kind of trade all day, every day. I have, as a tier 10, more hit points, and I'm always going to win that fight. But yeah, we've spotted this T95 FE4201 here. Bounce from the KV4 and him, but we're going to try and take this KV4 out first, I think. Penetrate him for a nice roll above 900, which is, you know, as soon as you start landing these shots, as you reload, you really do rack up the damage, and this poor KV4 is just driving in front of us. Shoot him, easy shot in the side, and just track him, because that's always the way. Getting a bit frustrated with the reticle wiggles there. I think it just gives me something to do in between the reload, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not really worried now about that KV4. I don't think he's that much of a threat. I kind of want to go in and get damage on this tier 10 heavy tank here, where I think that's where I'm going to get the most out of this game. There we go. Go back up on that little ridge there, angle down so he kind of shoots down at my slope, and yeah. I think I should pen here. I'm looking down on the hull of the heavy here, but he sort of just pushes me up just as I fire, and I just ricochet off. I think maybe his turret that I can't quite remember, but I've got more hit points. I'm just going to push him out in front of the enemies, and that sort of ends that game very quickly. So we've picked up 5.4k direct damage. We're in third place, so I'll take that, and 1.1k assistance. We blocked 3.5k, made a decent amount of credits. We got the Boogeyman as our commander, so that's all nice. Yeah, and I will end this replay there, and we'll hop into the second game where I do a little bit more damage, and then we're going to end with a sort of probably the biggest combined game I've had so far since the balance, so I'll see you there shortly. So here we are in the second replay of the video. We're here on El Alamein, and we are in the same tank, funnily enough. Yeah, this map's a lot better. Not the best. I think I kind of prefer city maps because of the kind of mid-ranged sort of assault kind of gameplay or game style that you can kind of have with this tank. But at least this isn't a Cold War map where I'm going to spend, you know, a whole day traveling across a map. This isn't as good as the last matchmaking in terms of we have got a platoon of piggies on the enemy team. And being a slow, non-turreted TD, Yeah, I'm not too happy about that. I think I'm just highlighting them there now. Yeah, I wasn't planning on making a video when I was capturing this. I was just capturing my session. But I think I'd probably got focused in the last couple of games I played before this game. So yeah, I'm just going to try and find an area of the map where I feel like I've got cover from where their artillery usually hides. So their artillery on this map, or enemy artillery, so from our spawn, or from this spawn where we both started, they usually like to hide sort of, I think it's more like K sort of 5-6. So I'm going to try and put this sort of little, I don't know what you call it, mountain, cliff, massive rock here. I'm just going to try and put that sort of like in a diagonal line to where I think their artillery might be. And I know there are tanks in the middle that usually sort of mediums that like to sort of float around there, so I'm going to try and stay hidden from them. As you can see, I'm pushing very aggressively. I'm going to just try and hug this little bit here and see if I can get shots to my left, along the sort of where it's like 8 or 9C, or C8 or 9 is what I should say. But yeah, where they're just spotted there, that you can shoot and have shots across that little gap as they cross. A bit risky now. I've got my side. There we go. Where I'm looking now, there's an E100 spotted. I got my side to where that E100 is, but I felt like it was worth it. Heard that E100 fire. He's not fully upgraded, so I'm just going to try and get up this hill at an angle. Hope he bounces. I don't know. Maybe he was a bit confused where to shoot, and he just took my tracks off. But he's fired. He's probably going to beat my reload again because he's not fully upgraded and he's got the 128. Just looking where to shoot. Lower plate. The E100 is massive. Just going to try and angle up as much as possible, but he does manage to penetrate me. But I feel like I'm going to win this fight, even if we are trading. And I'm just playing really aggressively here. I want to get this E100 out of the way. He pens me again, but I pen him, and he's now down to a one-shot. I've had enough of being penned. Just going to stay hidden until I fire my next shot, basically. That was probably not played as well as I could have. I'm not too happy with the way I played that. I'm now I'm under about half health, but it was kind of worth it. I'm taking out a tier 10 heavy for sort of half of my health. It's not the worst thing. I definitely wouldn't recommend taking that many shots. If you can sort of hide and angle in between as much as you can, then that's the best play. I was kind of just testing the armor there, and I was hoping that it'd bounce at least one shot or one extra shot, apart from the one where he tracked me. So yeah, but in that exchange we picked up 2.5k. And we're going to go back now and try and protect our artillery that are running away. So the enemy team have sort of won that side of the map and they're coming around to flank us. This is quite a good defensive location, so we put one into the TVP. He's got a 4-shot autoloader. I'm just going to wiggle, hope he bounces. And there we go. He misses, I think, 1 or 2 shots there, and he bounces the final shot. Put the food boost on, get the extra relay going up, and I've got a nice little ridge I can sit hill down in. Try and put shots into this Object 705. He's kind of just sitting out in the open. I'm safe here from their artillery. I'm not getting shot from the right, but he finally realises just as I reload that it's probably not a good idea to sit out in the open. But yeah, as you can see, that reload there with the food boosted, I've got it down to about 15 seconds when the active food boost is on. When it's not, I can't remember what it is. 15 and a half, something like that, 16 seconds, so it's pretty good. There we go, 705 is looking at us, we snap a shot in there, take him out of the game, and we're up to 4.3k damage. TVP there, shooting our friend behind us. We're just going to wiggle, make it awkward for him, hope he shoots us instead, but he doesn't. But he does get shut down by the 268 version 4. And there's only 4 tanks left on the enemy team. They've kind of tried to circle us. Sometimes you get those games where you go one way of your team, they go the other, and you sort of follow each other in a circle, kind of like a dog chasing its tail. But I kind of noticed that, and I just came back to sort of protect our asses, really. We kind of didn't need it in the end. It turns out my team was fairly competent, but you never know, and you always want to make that play to sort of try and stop them coming around from behind. And now I've seen a great sort of chance for me to get extra damage. There was a full health Super Conqueror until he got rained on by our artillery. Put a shot into him, and now he's nearly gone. we're probably going to finish this Super Conqueror off. I'd rather go around the corner and get the extra damage, but he'll just, with his DPM, put loads into my side, and 2 or 3 shots will be gone. So just going to wait around the corner, angling, maybe try and bait a shot from this T95 FV4 201. I've decided, no, I can take 1 or 2 shots. Going to go around, aim for the tracks, track him in place, but he does repair. Just going to try and get that extra experience at the end of the game. Driving at him at an angle, he gets shut down. Artillery misses him, a bit late fire in there, and we're just going to try and get, hopefully, the kill on this CS 63. He puts 1 into us. He's got a really nice rate of fire, so I did stop to aim for his turret. I thought I'd be able to go through, but that tank has got some funky angles. It can bounce quite easily, but we've got enough hit points to take a shot at least now. Both of them miss. We go over, auto aim into the side of the CS63 and take him out. So we bounced block 710. Direct damage 6k, but we finished MVP, which is really nice. I think I played that. Apart from the exchange with the E100, I feel like I played that fairly well. Was just covering the flanks, keeping hidden from the artillery. Got a sniper medal, which is quite nice because this tank isn't the most accurate. And the shell velocity, as you saw in the first replay, it's slow. You have to lead your targets quite a lot. You get used to it. You play a good few games in this tank, you'll get used to it. So we'll leave that replay there, and we'll hop into the 3rd game, where this is the highest combine I've had in this tank since the balance changes. So I'll see you there in a bit. So here we are. We are on the 3rd replay now, the 3rd and final replay of this video. We're here on Sand River. This is actually one of my favourite maps. Alongside Westfield, this is probably in my top sort of 4 or 5 maps in the game. I do prefer this map in light tanks and medium tanks, but luckily enough, as with the first replay in this video, there aren't any artillery on either side, so that's absolutely fantastic for a slow big target like the WZ-113G FT. So whenever I'm on this map in a heavy or a sort of heavy tank destroyer or something that's quite slow, there's basically 2 places I like to go. One is sort of looking down the I think it's looking down the dunes down on this sort of K line, and one is where I'm heading now, down to the middle. A lot of people favour the sort of the north and the ridge lines, but I think obviously you need gun depression there to make it work. Yeah, and I think a tank like this, it just isn't suitable for that kind of scenario. So I'm just going to mute that person that was annoying me there, and we're going to see what we can do. Being slow, I'm probably not going to get here to spot people on the cross, and this tank hasn't got exceptional view range, but I'm going to try and shoot what is spotted on the ridge lines over there, and as there aren't any artillery, I'm sort of free to sit here in between my reloads and use the little sort of the ridge lines and the foliage to try and get people to miss me, kind of ignore me really. And E100's just behind me. I think I pull forward just to see if he can move. And this M60 is going to cause me some problems, just because he's only peeking and shooting and going back down as he should. But I want to try and get shots into him. And when I do, I think I bounce, which is a bit annoying. But being where I am, my frontal armour is angled well, and we actually penetrate his turret there, which is good, and that's going to make him think twice about popping over. So in the game of artillery, where I am now, it's a great position if you're a medium or like to come here and spot the cross, sort of directly opposite me and to the left of me where I'm looking now. Just be warned that this is an artillery hotspot. People will focus fire you here at the start of a game, and if you're below me where that enemy heavy is fighting, you are sort of in a direct line to where the artillery sit in the south. So just be careful. Of course you've got to make plays, but you will just get obliterated if you come here in a mouse of type 5, unless you sort of hug to the side and go straight forward to the ridge where the artillery don't have the shell arc to hit you. Obviously it's easier to demonstrate that if I was in a heavy tank, but I can show you that in a different replay. So the E100 is doing a great job keeping the heavies below us off my back while I'm here trying to snipe at cupolas of mediums. But then again, I'm distracting the mediums on that ridge to help my team out. I'm kind of annoyed that they aren't maybe pushing as hard as I'd like them to. I'm missing quite a few shots on these mediums, but they are distracted, as I say, and any kind of thing you can do to help your team is always an advantage, whether it's damage, assistance, keeping things spotted, just annoying and frustrating the enemy. And as you can see, we've already racked up 1700 direct damage, 1100 assistance, and we've blocked 1.1k, which is pretty good. And I'm just rocking back and forth. I'm making that. I'm making my armor as effective as possible. Yeah, and I probably outstayed my welcome here a little bit now. I think I was thinking about pushing down along the middle to where that where the E100's kind of, or I thought he was going to go, but I noticed that a lot more of their tanks get spotted on the ridge in front of me. I'm missing a lot more shots still. That was a side of the T95E6 which I completely missed. That's absolutely fine, you know. You have things like that happen and you can still have good games. Don't get frustrated. You can see I wiggle my reticle whenever I'm a bit frustrated. It doesn't mean I'm tilted out, it just means I'm a bit frustrated, but you know, I'm going to carry on, and there we go. We predict where he's going to peak, pre-aim, fire before it gets there, and obviously with this Chauvelin velocity it's not the easiest. But now we're getting shot in the rear, so we're going to swivel round. Hasn't got the best traverse, good enough to get around there, and I felt like I was kind of safe to sort of sit up here, but obviously not. We get a shot into that tank, enemy tank, but we also get a shot in return, and we are a one shot for a few tanks, or quite a few tanks on the enemy team. And I'm not done yet. I'm having a fairly decent round, and I want to push the damage numbers even higher. So we pop down here, where we sort of hold down. We know the enemies are sort of above us. There's that heavy tank behind us, and there are 2 or 3 in our cap or in and around our cap. So I'm going to be trying wary of my surroundings here. People can shoot me in my rear here, they can shoot me from right ahead, and they can shoot me from my base. So I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place at the minute, so I'm trying to keep as much cover between the enemy fire as possible. I'm keeping an eye on my mini-map to see when tanks are coming, and a lot of players do prefer to have the compass mini-map for this situation. It's perfectly fine. It's probably a really great idea, actually. It's something that I haven't tried. I'm just a bit slack in my ways. But yeah, by all means try it out and see if that helps your awareness in sort of close quarters situations. But I really want to get some of these tanks out of the way, so I'm making a risk here. Pop up, finish off this 50 TP prototype, and I noticed this T95 FE42 and Chieftain staring at me. He's one of only 2 tanks left now. I'm just going to wiggle and try and make it really difficult for him to shoot me, and I think he didn't want to expose any more to get a shot into me. I'm just looking behind me to see if I'm going to get shot in my rear, but not much I can do now, really. I'm just going to push on. I've made my decision. I've seen where the damage is, and it's a very powerful tank. These 2 tanks could carry the situation. Very unlikely, but you know, never be too complacent. But I'm just going to approach this ridge at an angle, so if he peeks up and shoots me, I would hopefully bounce. But it looks like he's run off into the hills behind. But at least that's what I thought until I get spotted and he's at my side. For some reason, he was either slow to react as I was there, but he doesn't shoot me. Luckily, I turn around, snap a shot into him, wiggle my sort of tank to the angle at a 45-degree angle, and we bounce him. And I'm going to go to this ridge, angle up again about 45 degrees, and sort of go back and forth until I'm reloaded. Aim for the tracks again, trying to get all that assistance, all that damage at the end of the game. We managed to track him, pen him, and we're going to wait for a reel and hopefully get the final shell into him. I think our light tank misses there, or the enemy misses, but we're going to go for the ridge, looking down on him. I thought I'd pen that again like I did that earlier. I think it was in the first replay, but we didn't. Yeah, so I'll go for the ram, don't do any damage, but he looks at us and he gets finished off. And that caps a pretty good game. We finished second place on the team, 5.6k direct damage, 1600 assistance, and 2k blocked. Again, fairly decent silver because we don't need to fire the premium in this tank. It's kind of overkill, like the Jagdpanzer E100 E4 premium, but yeah, a nice game. Very proud of that. I'm very much enjoying this tank, and I highly recommend going up this line. The tier 9 was a gem and still is a gem, and probably the jewel in the crown of this line. I highly recommend it. They're very fun tanks. It's always nice to sort of have that high alpha, you know. And now that it's 850, you really put a hurt in on tanks. You make them think twice about coming after you, and I feel like it's competitive, a lot more competitive than it was. Maybe still not as good, obviously, as things like the E4, but what can you do? So I'll leave that video here. I hope you've enjoyed seeing those 3 replays, and I hope that you found a few tips and tricks on the maps, or found something in the statistics that are interesting. And yeah, I look forward to more content coming out this week. We have the update tomorrow, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. So I shall see you soon. See you on the battlefield, and bye for now.